Hey fellow gamers, Chatty Sisa here. Today we're diving into an early access first impressions review of Pompeii the Legacy, a historical city builder inspired by classics like Pharaoh and Cleopatra or Caesar III, and one that's honestly shaping up to be something very special. The game is being developed by a single indie developer, Željko Kos from Siscia Games, and I've managed to play the game during the game's official Steam Playtest, so I've had the chance to play through the demo, test a bunch of features and take plenty of notes. In this video, we'll go through my thoughts on the core mechanics, the city evolution, UI and accessibility, visuals, performance, bugs, and even a few funny moments that I came across. So let's get started. Pompeii the Legacy is a historical city building game set 2 decades after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. You take on the role of a Roman noble tasked with rebuilding the ruined city, not just structurally, but socially, economically, and politically. Over the course of several generations, you'll restore Pompeii from the ground up, managing resources, constructing buildings, guiding research, and responding to the changing needs of your citizens. The game offers 3 main modes: a campaign with a structured progression and built-in tutorial, a sandbox for freeform building, and a creative mode for those who want full freedom with unlimited resources. The visual design, system depth, and historical inspiration make it feel like a spiritual successor to Pharaoh and Caesar III, while adding modern features and plenty of its own character. I've broken this down into 6 main categories to help make sense of everything. The first one is core gameplay and mechanics. The second, challenge and progression. The third is UI and quality of life. The fourth will be visuals and atmosphere. The fifth one is bugs and performance. And the sixth and last will be replayability and content. After that, we'll wrap it up with some personal highlights and final thoughts, including a few hilarious surprises I didn't expect from a city builder. Core gameplay and mechanics. Let me start with the core of every city builder, how it actually plays. Pompeii the Legacy impressed me here right away, not just because it's intuitive, but because it gives you freedom without chaos. Placing buildings in Pompeii is simple and clean. There are no frustrating placement restrictions, and the city grid is clearly visible, helping you plan your layout with just the right spacing for roads, for decorations, or just to avoid your city turning into an accidental labyrinth. It feels like there's just enough structure to help you plan without making you fight the interface. The tutorial also gently nudges you toward good practices, like why it's smart to upgrade some of the buildings, for example, at a certain time. Resource production is clearly visualized and sensibly structured. When placing something like a forester's camp, let's call him Timber-Ted, you'll see a highlighted area that shows how much forest he has access to. This helps you avoid plopping him down in the middle of a barren field and then wondering why he's standing there holding an axe and looking confused. Now, while the game doesn't explicitly tell you to place certain buildings next to each other, like a carpenter's shop near Timber-Ted, it's something that becomes obvious through experience. Shorter distances mean quicker production chains. So if you've played other city builders, you'll instinctively do it, and it works very well here too. The game even lets you upgrade buildings, which increases their capacity and output. So if you want more furniture fast, upgrade that carpenter's shop, assuming your plebeians are sober enough to handle it. Taxation isn't automatic right from the start. You'll first need to research and build a tax office in order to start collecting income. It's tied to your population of plebeians. Slaves don't pay taxes, logically. Once you've built that office, it becomes a vital part of funding your city's expansion. As for trade routes, they're currently locked in the demo version, so I haven't been able to test that system yet. But based on how it's introduced in the menus, I suspect it'll become a central gameplay pillar later. As per my information, trading and many other mechanics will be introduced by Steam Next Fest in June, so that's definitely something to look forward to. Special events are limited in the current demo, although I'll mention a few interesting interruptions later under the challenges section. One of the strong points of Pompeii the Legacy is that it doesn't expect you to micromanage your citizens, but it still rewards smart planning. Workers distribute themselves automatically provided you have the right support structures nearby. For example, a quarry needs slaves to do the heavy lifting, but you'll also need plebeians nearby to manage the operation. Without one or the other, the system breaks down. The balance feels logical, and once you understand the relationship between different building types and housing zones, city growth becomes fluid and satisfying. There's a surprisingly deep tech tree available from the start. Even better, you can queue up multiple research topics in advance, so once one finishes, the next starts automatically. This is a big quality of life feature, especially for players who prefer strategic planning over micromanaging every step. You can set your priorities early and focus on building, not constantly checking back to start the next upgrade. Research affects anything from building upgrades to sanitation to product boosts, and planning ahead really pays off. One of the first big decisions in Pompeii the Legacy is picking your founding family, and it's not just a cosmetic choice. Each one subtly shapes how your city grows and what challenges you'll manage best. If you choose governance and finance, you're going for a stable economy, more tax income, cheaper upkeep, better depot storage, and a steady denarii grant every few years. You're basically building with a safety net. Even unrest won't stop your taxes from flowing in. The agriculture and fishing family is all about food security and speed. You get better harvests, faster construction of food buildings, and extra resistance to pests and storms. Perfect if you want your city to thrive on local production and grow from the ground up. Trade and shipping leans into long-distance economics. It unlocks trade routes faster, gives better prices when exporting food, and reduces risks like storms or pirates. It's ideal for players who enjoy managing logistics and maximizing value from what they produce. And then there's arts and entertainment, the beautifiers. This path focuses on culture, happiness, and aesthetics. Cheaper temples, stronger decorative effects, and wider influence from shrines. If your dream is a proud, polished city that inspires loyalty and some awe, this is your path. Each choice encourages a different build strategy and makes a strong case for replaying just to see how each playstyle unfolds. Altogether, Pompeii the Legacy offers a rock-solid core gameplay loop. The systems are clear, interconnected, and full of potential. You won't spend your time clicking through endless menus wondering what's wrong. The game gives you enough tools to see where the problem is and just enough freedom to solve it your own way. Oh, and let's not forget Timber-Tad. He might just be hauling logs, but he does it with surprising attention to detail, carrying the wood on his shoulder, moving carefully around corners, and behaving like a believable character rather than just a background NPC. It's one of those small touches that shows how much care went into the animation work, and it adds a lot to the atmosphere. Challenge and progression. One of the trickiest things to get right in a city builder is the balance between letting players relax and actually giving them something meaningful to manage. Pompeii the Legacy leans into this balance well, at least in the early stages. At first glance, the game feels easy to pick up. I was building fast, upgrading buildings, and thinking, hey, this is going pretty smoothly, and then reality hit. I ran out of money. Why? Because I built too much and too fast. Like a first-time homeowner who absolutely had to have the fanciest smart fridge, it wasn't punishing, but it was a good reminder planning really does matter. That said, there weren't any sharp difficulty spikes in the demo. The real challenge will likely come later once systems like trade and military are unlocked. These are currently inactive in the demo build, but based on what we know from other city builders, they'll introduce additional layers of complexity, and that's where Pompeii will truly test your city running skills. Unlike some other city builders, like Pharaoh for example, where you watch new citizens physically arrive and move in, Pompeii handles population growth differently. You don't wait for people to show up at the city gates, instead you build the capacity for them to live and work. Add more insulae for plebeians or accommodations for slaves, and your population will adjust accordingly. Growth feels organic, not through dramatic events, but through your decisions. Build too many businesses and not enough housing, you'll run into workforce shortages. Build too much housing with no jobs, unemployment climbs. So the progression challenge is more about balance than micromanagement, and that's a good thing. In the current demo, disasters and external threats are still fairly limited. There's no volcanic activity, no fires, no bandits at the gates, at least not yet. That said, I did encounter one early disruption, a disease outbreak. It hit before I had unlocked or placed any wells. The solution: research water supply, unlock freshwater wells, and place them around populated areas. Once I did, the illness cleared up quickly, a simple but effective systems check that rewards infrastructure over neglect. And of course, then there were the ruler demands. About 2 hours into the playthrough, I had just established my first functioning quarry when the ruler suddenly popped up asking for 500 pieces of stone. Naturally. Then, in a glorious moment of timing, I got another demand for 200 pieces of furniture before the game had even told me how to build a carpenter. So yes, some things never change, whether it's in ancient Pompeii or any city builder you've played before. There's always a ruler demanding everything before you're even ready for it. And that's the nice little bit I actually appreciated when playing. It adds an additional layer of complexity. These demands are scripted and not yet randomized, but they still keep you on your toes, especially if you're running a tight economy. There's a sense of long-term planning baked into the game. The tech tree, as mentioned earlier, can be queued up, which is a huge step. And because you start with one of 4 founding families, your strategy is influenced right from the start. Whether you focus on governance, agriculture, trade, or entertainment, you'll feel the impact of that choice over time, not just through bonuses, but through the types of infrastructure and citizen needs you'll need to prioritize. So far, Pompeii the Legacy feels like it offers nicely manageable early game challenges with room for much more complexity later. The demo gives a strong foundation, and while it's not punishing, it does encourage smarter decisions. You won't be punished for experimenting, but you will be rewarded for thinking ahead. And considering trade, military, rebellion, and the volcanic threat that are all planned for the full version, there's definitely more pressure to come. UI and quality of life. When it comes to city builders, the UI can make or break the experience. Fortunately, Pompeii the Legacy gets most of the essentials right, and even throws in a few welcome surprises. Moving around the map is smooth and intuitive. You can zoom in quite close to admire the little NPCs and their tasks, yes, that includes Timbertat, or pull back to get a wide view of your growing city. Rotation is where I ran into a small issue. While the mouse sensitivity can be adjusted, rotation using the Q and E keys on your keyboard feels overly sensitive. Even a light tap spins the view too fast. It's not game-breaking, but it could use some refinement. Placing buildings is easy and satisfying. A visible grid system shows you where things go, helping with spacing and alignment, and buildings snap into place logically. There's also a highlight radius when placing service buildings like wells or barbers, so you can see exactly which parts of the city will benefit. Road placement, however, was a bit of a headache. The issue I ran into was figuring out how to properly exit the road building mode. Once I started dragging out roads, there wasn't an obvious cancel button, and I ended up placing a bunch of roads I didn't want. The only workaround I found was hitting the escape key, which returned me unfortunately back to the main menu. It's possible there is a proper cancel function somewhere in the controls or tutorial that I simply missed, so take this criticism with a big grain of salt, please. But if it's not there, it absolutely should be. A simple undo or cancel button would prevent a lot of accidental road spam and waste of resources. The menu options and customizations are where the game really surprised me. For an early access title, Pompeii offers a robust and thoughtful menu system. You can set how the game reacts when alerts pop up, from pausing automatically and continuing to even speeding up the game. There is also a colorblind mode included, showing real care for accessibility, and you can tweak visual effects like underwater distortion or even how fast the plants are swaying in the wind. The UI size is adjustable and the default layout already feels very balanced and readable. All of these are things many city builders leave out until late in development, if ever, so seeing them already implemented here in the demo is a big plus. You can monitor your city's health from several angles. Top of the screen UI gives you the display of key stats like money, food, and materials. The City Hall Overview tab centralizes detailed information about workforce, research, and more, though it's currently not updating correctly, but more on that in the bugs section. Individual building windows lets you track production output, worker numbers, and functionality per building. This layered information setup is great whether you want to micromanage or just glance occasionally. The tools are there. Visuals and atmosphere. One thing that quickly stood out while playing Pompeii the Legacy was just how much care and detail has gone into the game world. It's not flashy for the sake of it, it's visually rich in ways that serve the experience. The art style fits the Roman theme beautifully. From the buildings and statues to the clothing and decorations, there's a real sense of time and place. And what I appreciated most is that not every building of the same type looks identical. For example, when I built several plebeian insulae, I noticed at least 3 different visual variants, which keeps the city feeling natural instead of copy-pasted. You can upgrade buildings, but the visual changes are fairly subtle and usually only become noticeable after multiple upgrades. It's not a dramatic transformation each time, but there are gradual tweaks that reflect your city's progress. You can see your city evolving, and it's satisfying in a way that makes you zoom in just to admire these little differences. Regarding the environmental details, this is where the love for detail really shines. The environment shifts with seasonal changes. Trees change color or completely lose leaves, shadows soften, and the whole world adjusts subtly over time. You also experience, for example, more rainfall during certain times within the year. Even the decorative elements, statues, trees, small bushes, aren't just repeated assets. There's variation that makes your city feel alive and unique. And speaking of alive, this is where I give a special shout out to Timberted again and his fellow NPCs. They all behave like actual people doing their job. They have believable movement and little animations that make them feel less like tokens and more like citizens. Whether they're fetching water, chopping wood, or carrying goods, they move with purpose and realism. And one of my favorite little touches is a cat wandering around the hunting camp, walking along fences and rooftops like it owns the place. The music is a major highlight. It's beautifully composed and captures that Roman atmosphere perfectly without being too dramatic or intrusive. I already said it during a live stream and I'll say it again here, I genuinely love the soundtrack. Voiceovers in English are also well done. They fit the style of the game and don't feel overacted or stiff, which is often a risk in smaller indie projects.
The Emperor calls, and duty leads me to Dacia. But this city is far from finished, and its people still need guidance. I leave its future in your hands.
Pompeii will endure, as it always has. I will see to its growth, as you would.
And I will uphold the order you have built. The people will not be without leadership.
They will not stand alone, Governor. I will remain at their side, offering counsel and ensuring the city stays on course. Your vision will not falter in your absence.
And the ambient audio deserves praise too. Birds chirping, water flowing, NPCs murmuring or hammering away at buildings, it all helps create a believable, immersive city building environment. Bugs and performance. Let's talk about bugs and polish, because yes, Pompeii the Legacy is still in development and naturally that shows in a few places. A few UI quirks stand out, like the color picker for the family flag, which doesn't quite behave as expected. You see a full grid of colors, but the cursor and selection don't line up properly, making it difficult to choose the exact shade you want. It's a small thing, but it's still noticeable during early setup. The City Hall's overview panel also seems to have trouble updating in real time. Even when my city was clearly out of money, the finance section claimed everything was going great. Since this overview is meant to give players a quick health check of their settlement, that's something that'll definitely need a fix in a future patch. We already talked earlier about the road placement quirks in the UI and quality of life section, so I won't repeat the whole saga here, but let's just say that system still needs a little polish to avoid unintentional building spam and wasted resources. On the bright side, Pompeii runs beautifully. I didn't experience a single crash, freeze or performance dip, and considering how detailed the game world is, that's impressive even at this stage. Pathfinding for citizens also worked perfectly during my playthrough. Whether they were hauling wood from Timbertad's forest retreat or just strolling through the city, everyone moved logically and smoothly. No stuck NPCs in sight. Replayability and content. City builders live or die by how much they make you want to return. Whether it's to try a new strategy, test different city layouts, or simply watch a virtual world come to life again from scratch. Pompeii the Legacy already shows strong potential here, even in this early build. As already mentioned at the start, you can choose between 3 game modes. The campaign mode, this includes the structured tutorial and gradual unlock of features. It's the best entry point if you're new to the game or just want a sense of guided progression. The sandbox mode is having no storyline, just you, your city and full creative control. You still manage resources, population and research, but without campaign restrictions. And last but not least, there's the creative mode. This is where you can go wild. Unlimited resources, everything unlocked, no pressure. Perfect for testing layouts or just building your dream Pompeii in peace. It's a solid lineup that caters to different types of players, and a big plus for replayability right out of the gate. Then there's the 4 family types to choose from with different in-game perks that I've mentioned earlier. This is also a very large contributing factor to the game's replayability. Now, I'll be honest, I only built 1 city in this demo, so I can't fully speak to how different each of your playthroughs might feel. But based on what I've seen, there's clearly a lot of potential for variety. The grid-based layout, the variation in buildings, and the multiple playstyles all point toward big replay value. Would I come back and play again? Absolutely. Even in this early stage, Pompeii the Legacy is shaping up to be one of my favorite city builders, on par with Pharaoh and Cleopatra or Caesar III, and possibly even better with time. I'm genuinely looking forward to playing more of the demo and especially the full release once trade, military and more advanced features are unlocked. Some of my personal highlights and final thoughts. What really stood out to me while playing Pompeii the Legacy was how much care clearly went into the smallest details. This isn't just a functional city builder, it's one with personality. There's charm everywhere, from the decorative statues you can place, to the citizens going about their day, to the quiet little cat casually pacing around the hunting cab roof like it owns the place. It's not just about managing a city, it's about watching it breathe. I also appreciated how intuitive the systems felt even when they weren't perfect yet. The UI is already in a good place, and features like building radiuses, in-game research planning, and well-paced tutorials really show that this game is being made with players in mind, especially fans of the classics. There are bugs, yes, and the demo version still locks off some features like the mentioned trade and military, which I think will add a lot more challenge and depth once they're in. But what's already here is strong, not just in structure, but in atmosphere, pacing and tone. And most importantly, I want to come back to it. That to me is the best sign of a city builder with real potential. So whether you're here because of nostalgic memories of Pharaoh and Cleopatra or Caesar III, as I've mentioned, or you're just curious to see how Pompeii rises again, this is one early access title worth watching. I'll definitely be back for the full version, and I expect Timber Ted to be still out there chopping wood like an absolute legend. I hope this review was helpful, whether you were already able to play the demo or you're just curious about what Pompeii the Legacy has to offer. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I would really love to hear your impressions. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to like, share or subscribe. Also, keep an eye out because Pompeii the Legacy will be part of Steam's Next Fest in June. So if you haven't tried it yet, that's a great chance to jump in. Thank you very much for watching, stay tuned and game on!